Time is now 7 o'clock, and I'm reconvening to open session and calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, September 9th, 2019. Jeannie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Razak.
Here.
Ms. Peel.
Here.
Mr. Rising.
Here.
Ms. Deming.
Here.
Ms. Grover.
Here.
Ms. Donahue.
Here.
Mr. Krubis.
Here. We are all in attendance. Ms. Donahue, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, we have a few board salutes today. I'm going to ask Ms. Deming to begin.
District 204 students awarded at National AXO competition. The board salutes Mattia Valley Senior, Maya Williams, and Nequa Valley Junior, Ethan Covington, who both won gold medal honors at this year's 41st Annual National AXO competition. AXO is the acronym for Afrocultural, Technical, Scientific Olympics, a year-long enrichment program where students work with mentors to prepare competition pieces for judging in 32 categories in STEM, humanities, business, and the visual and performing arts. Over 700 students advanced from their local chapters to the national competition held in Detroit this year. Maya was the top winner in the category of playwriting for her work Unboxed, and Ethan was the top winner in the biology, microbiology category. Nequa Valley Senior, Amani Porter, won a silver medal in the medicine and health category, and sophomore Micah Thigpen won bronze in the earth and space science category. Congratulations to each of these stellar students.
Thank you. Ms. Peel.
Mattia Valley Special Olympics distinction. The board salutes Mattia Valley High School on being named a Special Olympics Unified Champion School. The honor is given to schools who meet 10 standards of excellence that create an inclusive school climate, collaboration, and respect for all. Mattia Valley is one of 4 Illinois schools and 173 schools nationally to receive the distinction. Congratulations, Mustangs.
Thank you. Mr. Rising.
The board salutes Granger Middle School PTA for recently being named National PTA School of Excellence. Awarded schools are designated in recognition of their commitment to building an inclusive and welcoming school community where all families contribute to enriching the educational experience and overall well-being for all students. We congratulate the Granger PTA.
Thank you. And Ms. Grover.
The board salutes District 204 for receiving the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2018 by the Association of School Business Officials International. The award represents a significant achievement and reflects Indian Prairie's commitment to transparency and high-quality financial reporting. The district has received this award for 15 years. Congratulations to Jay and his team and all involved.
Thank you. School has started, so my favorite part of the meeting is always our student representative report. Our student representative report is from Obansi Valley High School, and Quincy Stotler will give that report. Come on up, Quincy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Quincy Stotler, and I'm a senior at Waubonsie Valley. The start of the school year was smooth as always as we welcomed 2,597 students into our doors on August 19th. We were up and running fast with our first major event, the Food Truck Rally, where we saw some beautiful weather and even better scrimmages between our different levels of athletic teams. Curriculum night was held last Thursday, and we love to see so many parents coming to learn more about our classes. Despite the time conflicting with the Bears game, we still had a great turnout. In terms of athletics, boys golf is having great success at the start of their season, including 3 tournament wins already. At their second tournament win, the Bob Sturr Invite, senior Will Troy led the Warriors, shooting a 68 and a hole-in-one in the 12th hole. This is a big week for many of our varsity sports, as both golf teams and boys soccer will take on Naperville North this week. Girls tennis will face Nequa Valley on this Thursday, September 12th, and girls swimming will attend the Nequa Dive Invite on the following day. This challenging yet fun week for athletics will finish with the Warrior football team taking on Trinity, traveling all the way to Kentucky. For athletics, freshmen have the opportunity to sign up for clubs on Thursday, September 12th at our annual Tribe Day. Clubs and other activities host round tables in the atrium during lunch periods. Our student council has already started to build decorations to complement our homecoming's theme, When in Rome. This year on October 6th with our annual Warriors on the Run Color Run. Registration is now open and it's one of our community's favorite events. Our October 11th homecoming game against Naperville Central will also celebrate Hall of Fame inductions, and our dance will follow it on Saturday, October 12th. Moving on to academics, as a school, we will begin our official start of Tribe Time, in which students are able to access their content teachers for support, use it as a chance to decompress, or catch up on some schoolwork. This will start this Wednesday, September 11th. Personally, I am planning on using Tribe Time as an opportunity to give my undivided attention to writing college essays. I know the freshmen in my Link Crew advisory class are looking forward to getting help from teachers, as most of them can't see them before or after school because they can't drive yet. That's all for the Waubonsie Valley Board Report. Thank you, and as always, go Warriors.
Thanks, Quincy. It's now time for public comment for non-agenda items. If you are here to speak to an agenda item, that comment will be taken immediately prior to that item. 30 minutes is allowed for public comment, and each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups. And as such, ask that you consider who the audience members are this evening and keep comments age appropriate. Public comment represents the voice and opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. We have one speaker today, and that's Andrew Myers. Welcome, Andrew, and come on up. Hi,
Thank you.
welcome.
I am here today as an advocate for my son, and by extension, every other diabetic child in District 204. For 5 weeks now, my wife and I have been fighting for training for emergency care that is implied by the district policy recommended by the Illinois Council of School Attorneys, the American Diabetes Association, and JDRF, to name a few. This is for essentially an EpiPen for type 1 diabetics. It's called glucagon. The school policy, section 7270, administering medicines to students, says nothing in this policy shall prohibit any school employee from providing emergency assistance to students, including administering medication. What we're asking for is a 15-minute training to be provided to at least the teachers and coaches directly responsible for those students with type 1 diabetes, as recommended by the council and all of those advocacy groups. The training for severe hypoglycemia could prevent a coma or a child's death. The week before school started, my wife talked to the nurse at Granger about the emergency training, and she told us that she was the only one allowed to give the emergency care, which is obviously false. We escalated to the district nurse who we've been working with for the last 4 years at Brooks, and she said she just needed to confirm with her supervisor, but we would get it done. For the next 4 weeks, we had been fed lies, half-truths, and been given the running round by one of the directors of student services. These include the previous treatment at Brooks, the current school policy, the current Illinois law, among others. Throughout these meetings, we were offered no compromise, and no ideas were brought forward by the district in regard to the emergency care. They assured us that one trained person for a school of 1,000 children is enough. When asked about the policy that prevented the training, they refused to show it to us. We brought up situations such as lockdowns, which is evidenced by the break-in attempt last week, is very real. To also put this in perspective, my son, who is also autistic, makes multiple trips per day for hypoglycemia, and last Friday missed an entire class because his blood sugar was so low. This is very real. We escalated to the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services and received the policy that they're referencing, and we pointed out the clause regarding emergency medication. She said something would get done, It has now been over 1 week, and the same director of student services is offered to only train the principal. When we told our endocrinologist about this, he was not surprised. His professional recommendation was to change districts, as 204 is not safe for type 1 diabetics. He currently works with 203 and 304, and previously attempted to work with 204 to provide free training and was outright refused. His qualifications include 43 years of experience and 200 publications. We have still not been given a reason for the district's intransigence on this issue. We just ask that you follow the recommendations of every qualified professional and give this training immediately, as every day is another child's risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we now move to the consent agenda and superintendent report. We always begin with our superintendent report. Dr. Sullivan.
I have a pretty short update at this time. It's been a great start to our 1920 school year. I did my world tour of all of the buildings in the first few days of the school year, and there's a lot of energy and enthusiasm always to get our students back in the building. Our August 31st enrollment report does have us down 371 students from the same time last year, bringing us just under 27,000 students for this year. So this continues the downward enrollment trend that we've been seeing since 2010. And last, I want to thank Senator Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant for hosting an education roundtable on August 29th. There were a number of issues that were discussed as the senator requested feedback on the implementation of bills that have been passed at the most recent session. As was shared at the meeting, there were 154 bills related in some way to education that were filed in the last session. Of those, 55 passed. So schools across the state are dealing with 55 new laws on the books that impact our work. There was a lot of discussion at the meeting on the statewide teacher shortage and how the legislature might offer to help alleviate that situation in the future, among other topics. So I know that the educators in the room appreciated having the opportunity to openly dialogue those kinds of issues with the senator and her staff. So we thank her for that. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We now move to the consent agenda, and I need a motion to approve consent agenda items D through I as presented.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve consent agenda items D through I as presented.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Jeannie, please call the roll.
Mr. Karubis,
Yes.
Mr. Razak,
Aye.
Ms. Peel,
Aye.
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Deming,
Aye.
Ms. Grover, Ms. Donahue.
Motion passes 7-0. We now have a consent agenda item for separate consideration, and that's the approval of the minutes from the special meeting on August 28th, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from our special meeting on August 28th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Jeannie, please call the roll.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
I'll abstain.
Mr. Karubis.
Yes.
Mr. Razak.
Aye.
Ms. Peel.
Aye.
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Deming.
Aye.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 1 abstention. We are now going to our action item. And before we begin, I need a motion to approve the contract with RSP and Associates for enrollment analysis and updated generation tables.
I move that the Board of Education approve the contract with RSP and Associates LLC for enrollment analysis and updated generation tables.
Second. Oh, second.
There is a motion and a second. Mr. Strang.
Good evening, board members. Back in 2012, the district went through a request for qualifications for a demographic study of the school district. At that time, we sent out an RFQ and received a number of firms to come back and meet with us and submit their information about their performance level in analyzing our school district. Ultimately, RSP and Associates won that RFQ and spent about 6 months in the school district working with the city of Naperville, the city of Aurora, developers, vacant land owners, and came up with a 5-year projection of what our developments would look like and our enrollment would look like in the school district. They were highly accurate. They were within a percent one way or the other each of those years of those studies. At the conclusion of those 5 years, in 2017, we went back to RSP and Associates, and this was after the economic downturn, and we had seen some shifts in the school district. We saw some enrollment changes move from the south end of the district to the north end of the district, and asked them to convene another study. Again, that study was completed in 2017, and for fiscal year 2018 and fiscal year 2019, their accuracy was pretty astounding. With changes to the economy, with changes in the city of Naperville and Aurora, and some of their economic plans to redevelop some areas of the school district, with our enrollment dropping but changing and being unbalanced across the district, we believe it would be in the best interest of the school district to bring RSP back again, to conduct a housing and an enrollment analysis, and to look at the generation tables and how many kids we're actually receiving from some of these new developments. Single-family homes are something that is not as oftenly proposed and built in the district, and multifamily homes is something that is seems to be the new trend. So with that, we're asking the board to approve RSP and Associates for a look at housing trends and enrollment trends and student enrollment impacts throughout the district. That work would start immediately by contacting the cities of Aurora and Naperville and contacting developers looking at the land use throughout the district, and we would hope that we would have the final report to the Board of Education sometime this winter.
Questions?
I've got some comments. And this is with a focus on impact fees. So looking at Naperville's ordinance, I'm going to read a quote from the ordinance. It is recognized that fair market value and population density, age distribution, and local conditions change over the years, and that the specific formula for the dedication of land or the payment of fees in lieu thereof is subject to periodic review and amendment as necessary. From my research, it appears that this generation table for Naperville hasn't been updated in at least 10 years. Are you aware of it being updated in the last 10 years?
My knowledge is the same as yours, that it's been at least a decade that it's been updated, and since that time, the housing trends in the district have changed.
Reading further in the ordinance, it says the adult population yield statistics have been derived from the 2000 table of estimated ultimate population. That's the year 2000. So they used the year 2000 demographics to incorporate the generation tables that determine our impact fees. And in my opinion, a lot's changed since then. So it would warrant updating the study, or doing the study, with the hope of changing the impact fees with Naperville and Aurora. It is interesting to look at Naperville and Aurora's ordinances together as well. They talk about a density formula, and they say that the population density represents the current and short-term trends in family size for new construction. And both ordinances use that same language. And in my opinion, those generation tables do not reflect current or short-term projected trends, and therefore warrant us getting a study done so that it's not just my opinion, but somebody with more expertise. We have been having some conversation with local developers about the concern with impact fees from particular developments. It appears that this study would talk about updating the generation tables for the whole district and not with a particular development. What's the rationale with that?
What I think would be important about having the study done and looking at it across the district, and it would be across both Aurora and Naperville, is that you now have a new set of data that's recent and updated and can be applied across all developments, as opposed to trying to convince individual developers as they come to the school district what's really the possibility of students coming out of a proposed development. The issue is not only the lost revenue associated with not recognizing all of the students coming out of it, but also recognizing that if we don't really have a good identity of the number of kids coming out, we can't plan for the future in our schools. If a developer says it's going to be 10 kids and then it's going to be 60 kids in actuality, we need to know that in advance. Now, in 2000, we didn't have the technology we have now, and we do have the technology in real time to be able to look at developments across our school district and say, here's the real number of kids coming out of them, which will greatly benefit this study and hopefully make it quicker. So ultimately, you know, when we've shared that data with both the cities of Aurora and the cities of Naperville, they said, yes, the tables certainly seem inaccurate. They certainly are higher than we thought that they were, and they seemed open at the time to us conducting the study and reviewing the work.
But we have to conduct a study.
We have to conduct the study.
Was that true in the past?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Ultimately, we don't want them just to review the work, right? We want them to accept our study as updated tables.
Correct.
Historically, have their generation tables always fallen below, or have they fallen below what winds up being the real numbers? Have they come closer than they do now?
Well, I've got to hope that in 2000 and 2005, when it was more recent to when the study was conducted, that they were more accurate. I can tell you that in my tenure in this position and in my conversations with my predecessor, they've been out of whack for some time, which is a good 8, 9, 10 years.
And with some of the recent developments that have come and students, the additional number of students that have come, in addition to the, regardless of the generation, what the generation tables anticipated, are they accepting and recognizing the numbers that actually do come, the number of students that actually do come?
It depends upon the developer. Now, I can tell you that we work hard with developers to make a property age restricted if we can, and we don't see students coming from it. We have developers who will tell you that it's age targeted, that it's a one-car garage, it's a bedroom with a loft, and the material in the house isn't comfortable for kids. You know, it's hardwood floors or granite floors and granite countertops, and there's no playground. And I can go into our software and show you developments like that where we've got kids coming through it that are more than what the generation tables would suggest. So it depends upon the developer, their desire to get the work done, the amount of money and the difference in the range from their project. And it takes a lot of work because each individual developer takes, you know, it's almost a scorecard that you've got to keep. And to Mr. Krubis's point, if we can get both cities to recognize a new study, we can just go right to that study, those new tables, the new ordinance, and know that we're applying the same data across the entire school district.
At the end of the day, these are estimates. We are trying to make the best guess on the number of students, but we don't actually know, neither the developer, the city, or the schools, how many students are gonna be generated from any given development until it actually happens, right?
That's correct.
My last point on this agreement is we're giving certain information to the consultant, and there's been a lot of concern about privacy issues. What have we done what are we gonna do as part of this agreement to minimize any privacy concerns with our student data?
Well, we wouldn't share any of our student information data with our developer or even RSP and Associates. We would just give them counts of kids coming out of developments, and they would get a lot of that information from the cities that they contact, and they would review the current table, just the numbers of kids by grade level.
So they're not gonna have any personable
No.
identification? Thank you.
No.
Mr. Rising.
So, just real quick, I have a comment and two quick questions. So, I'm all in favor of this. You know, we did that one when I first got on board, the demographic study. We did one, 2 years later, and now we're going.
5 years later.
Or was it 5 years later? Okay, it just seemed like 2 years. I think this is always good. You know, we're kind of doing it now. I mean, we don't necessarily have to do this because I feel our data is very good data, and our projections have been extremely accurate. But because both the cities are requesting we go out to study for this, if they're going to look at the generation tables and the impact fees, we kind of have a purpose for doing it. More so this time, but I think it's always good to kind of refresh and take a look because, like you said, there's a lot more information we had than just from the last time. So I think this will be good, but remind me again, well, I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So remind me again how much we receive from local funding, the percentage of our revenue as a district.
It's about 83%.
Okay. So if we have a large portion of our student population that's coming from medium or high density, where we're seeing the generation tables sometimes 3 to 4 times greater than what the old tables have been. I mean, for instance, if we're getting impact fees currently at about $200,000, but in reality that should be close to $800,000 or $1 million, we could potentially have been losing out on millions of dollars over these past 10 years for our district. Is that correct? Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
Okay.
And I'd say that that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that all of the folks who have an interest in the community, which is our cities, our school district, 203's school district, the developers, want to have the accurate information so that we know what is really the impact of a development in the school district, in this community.
And you could say that's not only impacting us financially as a district, but it's also impacting our residents because they're picking up some of that cost themselves, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
if you think about it, if we had 1,000 kids come into the district and we had no impact fee, no property taxes from that development, it would drive down our spending per student. We would have to do even more with less.
Okay.
And, a big part of what kind of started this conversation was that the city of Aurora had a Route 59 development study, which is a pretty big section of the school district from the railroad tracks down to Montgomery, from 59 to the Canadian National. And I understand that Naperville's considering conducting a study as well, and if that study changes our school district from redevelopments or incentives, this would help us understand how.
Okay. And then just one last thing. Do we know if there are certain, or have you asked Aurora and Naperville if there's certain specifications or requirements that they need as part of this study? Because I know we've done the general demographic study, if you will, but do they have certain requirements in order to bring it to their planning and zoning for approval to bring it to their council? I'm just making sure that we've looked into that to meet their requirements, because I would hate to do this and then find out, oh, shoot.
No, we would have to conduct the study, and we would have to conduct it across not only our school district, but other areas to make sure that it's across the entire community. And we'd have to look at a variety, a number of residencies. And our demographer, RSP and Associates, looked across the entire district last time. They would have to take a little broader perspective. And then they would take the new data to the staff at both cities, and if they agree with that data, would take it to the city council in both districts, or both cities, for approval.
So, the issues that we've seen where we have a mismatch between what we have estimated in those tables versus what we experience has mostly been centered on density housing, right? Not the single-family homes.
Where we are receiving higher amounts of students than the generation tables suggest is in townhomes, condos, and apartments.
Yeah.
Single-family homes, from the data that I've collected, seem to align more closely to the current generation tables. But we're not putting up a lot of single-family homes anymore.
Ms. Grover?
So I just want to ask you, the study is going to discuss developments that we hear about, such as Citygate, the Fox Valley Corridor, Best Buy, perhaps what's going on there, so it'll take care of all those things.
In both in 2012 and 2017, and I imagine in this new study, the demographer met with the cities and said, what is currently likely to be changed and rezoned, and what is pressure to be rezoned, so that they have a sense of how firm is this 30-acre parcel that it's going to continue to be commercial and not likely become residential. And they go through a whole matrix of coming up with how is each property likely to be developed in the next 5 years. Now, they were really accurate in the first 5 years of the study and really accurate in fiscal year 18 and 19. And then the city of Aurora decided to come up with a study on the Route 59 corridor, and that really started, it kind of took that study and turned it on its ear a little bit, because now, everything has changed since that time. We need to look at it under a new lens.
Other comments or questions? Ms. Deming?
Mr. Strang, just as we see nationally economic shifts changing from commercial build-outs, can you share a little bit with us just from any things that you're seeing or conversations regarding what you anticipate that commercial versus residential potential property build-outs and developments coming?
Commercial property is not what gets developed in our school district. It is residential property, and it is typically residential property that brings students. There was a City of Naperville committee that was put together that I was asked to sit on about affordable housing. I believe, because we're not built out and 203 is fairly built out, that if there is affordable housing, it would be placed in our district. The commercial property that we have in the district is having a hard time keeping a foothold. Online purchases are hurting this school district's commercial property, just like across the country. So times have certainly changed.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Jeannie, please call the roll.
Mr. Karubis.
Yes.
Ms. Peel.
Aye.
Mr. Razak.
Aye.
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Deming.
Aye.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Now move to our discussion items. It's the beginning of the school year, and we always begin our school year with an Indian Prairie Educational Foundation update. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. Appreciate the opportunity to present an overview of the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation. I'm Elisha Johnson, the Executive Director. I'd also like to introduce and tell them we appreciate them attending our Executive Chair, Rana Khan, as well as our Development Coordinator, Cindy Cozy, as well as one of our Foundation Board members, Lori Donahue.
She kind of has to be here.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. So, thank you so much, and appreciate the opportunity, and looking forward to sharing a little bit about our year. So, we are in our 31st year, and Mr. Karubas, is this better? Great, thank you. We are in our 31st year, and we are going strong and looking forward to continuing what this group up here on the screen started in 1988. And Mr. Karubas, do you recognize anybody up there?
For the benefit of everybody, the gentleman in the top right is my father.
Excellent.
The one in the bottom left is Alan Fry, named for one of our schools. And the gentleman in the top left, two in, is Mr. Myers.
Excellent.
We have some administrators there too that I won't mention right now.
That was my guess.
Well, this was the group that started it all in 1988, and we are so thankful that they did start that initiative. And we certainly have changed and grown over the years. And this is our group right now. So we are made up of a group of volunteers. And I just want to start tonight by saying that I don't take for granted, and I'm very thankful for our group of volunteers, for all of our directors on the foundation board. You know, we meet monthly, and you know, everyone's busy in life today. And they could just come in and sit down and go through the motions and quickly vote on things. But our group takes into consideration the students that the foundation is here to partner with the district to really enhance not only the academic, but the artistic experience that our students have as we support them emotionally and physically as well. So our directors are ready to roll up their sleeves. They're ready to understand the program so they can really think about how best to use our funds, how best to use our time, and how to really make a thoughtful impact. So we'll review a few of our programs that we are focusing on this year. Again, we will be supporting our teacher grants program. In 18-19 year, we had a record number of applications. 109 applications came in. So this is a program that we love, that our teachers across the district, we have amazing, amazing teachers, and they are able to go online and apply for different grants, innovative ways to elevate and raise what they're presenting in their classrooms. So far to date, over $1.4 million has been given to the Teacher Grants Program. And we have a new cycle starting, so we are looking forward to seeing those grants come across. The application period starts September 16th and runs through October 31st, with those awards then being given at the beginning of 2020. We are also excited to, again, for the 6th year, be partnering with our sponsor, Wells Fargo Advisors, sponsor our wonderful A+ program, where parents, students, alumni across the district can nominate a staff member. Doesn't only have to be a teacher, but it could be a bus driver, it could be a lunchroom supervisor. Last year we had an evening custodian win the A+ award. 6th year for the program, over 700 nominations, so far $54,000 in sponsorship funding. And this year we're looking forward to just a few updates and just breathing a little fresh life into the program. So watch for those updates. Our first A+ award will come out at the end of September. And with the Wells Fargo support, we're able to provide a check for $500 to the winner to use in their classroom or in the school. So we're looking forward to that. Another program that the foundation supports as we provide enrichment to our students artistically is our Fine Arts Festival. May 16th this year will be our Fine Arts Festival. It's really one of a kind in the nation where over 18,000 students are involved in one day at 3 of our high schools, as well as our holiday concerts that are provided by 3 of our high schools, as well as our Masterworks program. So it's interesting as I go out into the district or even just in the community and talk about what the foundation does, I come upon person after person that really doesn't understand or realize that the foundation does provide funding for the Fine Arts Festival. The foundation funds 100% of the Fine Arts Festival, and it is such a nice opportunity for all of our students, K through 12, to be able to showcase their artistic endeavors, and it's just a nice way to give back to the community. So we're looking forward to that in May. And then through our partnership with the district, we are continuing to support various programs around the district. So support for our STEM initiatives through our robotics program. So we have 3 tournaments, both elementary, middle school, and high school that will be coming up this year. Our Kid Essentials program, which is a wonderful program that provides support for our students that are a little bit less advantaged, need a little bit extra support, as well as our Back on Track, providing support to those kiddos who need some emotional attention, emotional support. So I think 360 Youth Services came in and provided some wonderful reporting and data from the program, 2 years thus far. We're looking at all the high schools as well as the middle schools providing that in-school counseling, and the data was great, showing that definitely improvement for some of our at-risk kids in attendance, and also improvement in behavioral issues. So, and then our Ballet Runway program, where we provide financial support to this amazing program that gives the opportunity to not only our young ladies, but young gentlemen who might want to participate in prom, but are not able to do that financially. So those are our district programs. We've been very fortunate this last year to receive several different grants and develop some new relationships with some organizations in the area and look to expand upon those and grow those relationships. One of our new relationships is with our local international paper, and we were very fortunate to receive $15,000 of funding from them to support our STEM teacher grants. So, in order to provide all of this funding, we do have to have some fundraising going on. So we are excited to be less than 6 weeks out to our largest fundraiser, our Team IPEF event coming up on October the 20th. So last year we had a record 519 participants and tried to set everyone's expectations correctly. That's a big number. But wow, the community, staff, parents really stepped up. I know Dr. Sullivan, right before the deadline would come in, where are we, where are we? And procrastination is a big thing about human nature, correct? So we broke our record again, and we appreciate and thank all of those participants, which, by the way, every school board member, including Dr. Sullivan and her administrative assistant, Jackie, and some spouses, are part of Team IPF. So congratulations for that, and we appreciate that.
Right, Lori?
We're walking, yeah.
You're definitely walking.
So we also want to thank our presenting sponsor, which is Charles Rutenberg Realty, as well as Moto Mortgage. Ray and Grant Zabelski of Charles Rutenberg and Moto Mortgage are our presenting sponsors. And Ray has been a big supporter of the district for years. And now Grant, who is back in the area and who is actually a Waubonsie alum, has added the Moto Mortgage offering to his father's real estate company. So we're really excited that Grant is involved too, and we certainly appreciate their financial support for Team IPF as well as for the foundation. So you'll see us wearing our yellows. We affectionately refer to them as our yellows. They're our team training shirts as well as our race day shirts. And this is just one way that this big group of people come together and we show camaraderie and support from one another through our yellow adventures of our yellow shirt contest. So you'll see some faces up there you might know traveling around the world in Lake Slovenia, South Dakota. Oh, there's one in Boston, Dr. Sullivan in Italy, and Lori, Ms. Donahue in South Africa, which she let us know she could not wear her yellow shirt because of perhaps frightening the
Elephants, elephants would attack her.
right?
Bright colors, yeah.
But I don't know if you can see, she did write out Team IPF, so showing some support there. So that's fantastic. And then we had a great opportunity to actually be in the WGN block party parade in June downtown. And we had two of our board members, Ms. Deming and Ms. Peel, participate in the parade. And Ms. Deming even found her way onto TV. So she gave a plug for Team IPF, and we appreciate that. And it certainly was a fun day of bringing a great group of people together. We had parents, we had administrators, principals, school board members. We even had a little Team IPF guy in training there on the left, who's about 2 years old. So we had a great time representing the school district as well as Team IPEF, bringing awareness and creating excitement for our event in October. We are excited to report that registration is closed for our Kids Marathon, which takes place the day before the 5K and half marathon on October 19th at Neuqua Valley. And we are still tabulating final numbers and confirming registrations, but it does look like we broke our record from last year. So we're very excited about that, and thank you to all of the parents for helping your kiddos and students sign up. We also appreciate all the support from each of the schools, whether it's administrators, teachers, PE teachers, really promoting the Kids Marathon. It'll be a fun event at Neuqua the afternoon of October the 19th. We are still looking for volunteers to help out. There's also opportunity, if you're not running or walking in the race, to be involved in a spirit squad at the 5K and the half marathon on October 20th. So you can find more details out through your school, and opportunity to earn funds for your school. A couple of new initiatives that have launched through the foundation is our alumni initiative. So we had our first event, a kickoff event at Topgolf in July, launched a Facebook, Twitter page, and thinking about planning another event for this year. So just really trying to reach out and connect with those past 204 graduates, just to spread awareness and make connections. We also are working on a brand new IPEF website. So here's just a couple of screenshots as far as kind of the look and feel, the interface. So just new and improved, updated, easier to navigate, and we'll hope to be launching that sometime later this fall. So as we work together and partner with the district, as well as collaborate with all of our foundation directors to create that thoughtful impact, we of course are working through our alumni initiative. We also will be adding some new directors to our foundation, so we're excited about that. That will be happening soon, and we're always recruiting for additional directors that are interested in becoming involved. Continuing to increase awareness in the community, looking for and discovering new opportunities through sponsorship. We're excited to launch our new website, and then continuing to work and create our group of IPEF volunteers. So once again, we appreciate the opportunity to present. Look forward to a fantastic year. Is there any questions that I can answer for anyone tonight?
Questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you for all IPEF does. I love the teachers grants, and I know you guys get a lot of requests. So the grants that you're not able to give, do you have a website like people like me or other people can go and kind of want to fund those teacher
Sure.
grants?
That's a great question and a wonderful idea. And we are working this year on a couple of different strategies because it's hard to leave anyone out, and there's so many wonderful ideas. So some of the ideas and requests that come in are able to be supported through various district programs that maybe the teachers aren't aware of. So we make sure and collaborate with district to communicate that out to those particular applicants. In addition, we are striving to connect with different corporations and industries in the area this year to fund additional grants, perhaps. And we've also talked about perhaps utilizing some sort of online donation system, like you were speaking of, if there's certain things or initiatives that our staff are interested, making it available for patrons or parents to perhaps donate to those. So it's something we're certainly looking at implementing. So thank you.
Mr. Rising?
Again, thank you for everything you do and for all the board members. You know, I in my professional life, I get a chance to go see other school districts, and our foundation just, there's just nothing like it in the state. But, you know, I along kind of the same lines as Natasha said, I hope we continue to look for, because I know we did the whole check the box campaign, and you know, people get that with now their registration stuff, but if the Naperville Marathon has taught us anything, it's that our community is still willing to give towards the foundation and help the foundation. So I hope we continue to look for those donation opportunities. And I hope we start pushing out more for volunteering opportunities, because we do hear from our community how much they want to give and want to volunteer their time as well. So, you know, I would just say that, and that's all I have. Not really a question. Thanks.
As an alum, I'm really excited about the alumni program. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think we have a lot of great alum, and finding a way for them to connect and build that camaraderie and say thank you, much like colleges and universities do, is very nice. I think we have a lot of alum in the area, and sometimes they're just trying to figure out a way to help out. The schools have changed a lot since they might have gone through the system, and finding a way to ask them back in to be part of the community is nice. So I'm really excited about that. I think that's got a lot of potential. I look forward to ways where the foundation looks with partnering with the district on that, to create some efficiencies as more and more people graduate, so that we spread awareness initially as they graduate. That's a great opportunity. I think an area where we might improve as a district and foundation is with what we've traditionally called the check the box. Is no longer check the box because of the online registration. So I think in addition to the foundation, our online registration should be reviewed for all of our district supporting organizations, PTAs, to improve that registration, maybe partner with them a little bit more. And then I went to the website, love it, nice, like the update about some key ways on getting involved, very succinct. What if a community member, such as myself, which is to be a director, what would be the process to kind of submit themselves for consideration?
That's a good point. We could certainly add that to the how to get involved area.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Other comments or questions? Want to thank Ms. Donnie, do you?
Oh, I was just going to say, I am thrilled to be part of the group, and all of the activities that we've been supporting in the district are so impressive and helpful to the school district. So, keep up the energy and enthusiasm, and, I'll help you also.
Well, I just have to thank you because Ms. Donahue is one of the first to raise her hand when we need help. So thank you for that.
I just had a question. You said the online registration. Is that hurting our check the box donations? Is it bringing it down?
It's really hard to say specifically, but it could have had a bit of an impact. So that is definitely one of our initiatives for the year, is to revamp and launch a marketing initiative for the donation program.
Okay.
PTA's had a huge hit this year because they're used to getting that form, right? That paper form. And when you get a form to join the PTA or to check the box, as it was, it's kind of right there in front of you. And I think online, you can kind of just scroll over it. Yeah.
I guess I just want to reinforce what the foundation has done. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Alicia, I just had a quick question. Do we do just a thought on the marketing side, any ways to maybe communicate on an ongoing basis, just with families, letting them know, helping keep abreast of their mind, just everything that the IPF does, just kind of sharing the different things that we're doing. I know you do it through IPSD website. If there are any ways that maybe, talking with our communications department, any creative ways that we might think of just to kind of get some shout outs, or not really shout outs, but just snapshots to families, and just kind of keeping them abreast of just different things that we have going on, and ways that we touch families more so than they even realize, just kind of that remembrance. And that might help maybe to help generate some additional check the box.
Right. No, I love that idea to increase the awareness. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Lori for participating on part of the board. There's a broad array of services and help that we provide to our students. And Susan pretty much took the words right out of my mouth, which is great. I think we do. I think it's an underestimated, star we have in District 204, and people sometimes forget that you're there. And they never should, because we wouldn't have STEM programs or Project Runway or the Fine Arts Festival. And I think we just need that gentle reminder, because without you, our school system would not be able to perform to the level it does. We are dependent on the foundation to provide additional services that our budget cannot. And we need you desperately, and we need help from our parents, and I know they would want to participate. So, thank you.
Thanks for spending your birthday with us.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you very much. So, yeah, wonderful ideas, and definitely, so, good things to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to October 20th.
Now we have a technology services update. Welcome back,
Just
Mr.
a
Seitz.
short 26-page, was it?
Adam goes pretty fast.
I do.
He
Not
does.
long-winded at all. I'm good. So thank you so much again, everyone. After a full year with Indian Prairie School District, this presentation gives you an annual update on our department. Hitting District Goal 1, Policy 5170, 6210, 6220, and 6235. I had fun going through policies and goals to fill out the sheet, so it was a lot of fun. The format of all of our annual tech updates is going to be around the Future Ready Technology Plan. So that will be the organizing thought process moving forward for each of the annual updates that you get from our department. I won't go through each one of these because we presented on this previously, but just to give you as highlights, the major areas that we hit this year were collaboration and communication, online safety, security, and responsibility, as well as anytime, anywhere, future ready. Our first goal, again, as a reminder, is really the support of a holistic collaboration and communication plan for the district. And during this time, as I mentioned in a previous presentation, we migrated to Office 365 for our district. Since that was part of the overall annual plan, I thought I would bring that back up one more time just as a reminder. During our time of our transition, since December, we've sent 12 million emails as a district, just to give you an idea of a number of the volume that we've sent in that period of time, and leveraged over 6 terabytes of storage. And in your head, you may be thinking, my home computer has a terabyte of storage. That's not that much. But when you think about it in the server storage land, where we have to maintain 7 years of emails, we have to maintain backups nightly, weekly, quarterly, and so on, that's more in the hundreds of terabytes in storage that we have to accommodate all the emails that we send as a district. We also are now leveraging AI, which for some that may raise some alarm bells or warning bells, and we'll talk a little bit about that and what that means and how we use it to protect the district and also protect our staff and students on the whole. We also made sure in this process that we allowed and supported teachers in using Google Calendar or other resources by linking their Outlook calendar to Google and to other resources that they have and use on a regular basis. This single decision to move to Office 365 saved us so far an average of $65,000 in annual operating costs, and that does not account for the staffing, the server hardware, the refresh of equipment, and the racks of hardware that we're able to not have to repurchase in order to go cloud at that point. Another of our changes that you saw and approved previously was related to our internet and WAN contracts. On the screen, it may be a little hard to see here, but on the deck that's available online, we increased the internet speed available to the district to 5 gigs. And we found that we were getting bottleneck points in the day for our high school students, where we heard as a great presentation earlier about the 2,000 and plus students that we have in our high schools that were using that connection at a given time of day, especially between 10 and 2 p.m. So during that time period, we felt there were some bottlenecks there. You'll see in the chart that we went to our elementary and middle schools and raised those speeds up to 1 gig from 500 megs, and also our high schools that do not have data centers up to 2 gigs, and our data centers in high schools like Mattia who have data centers up to 10 gigs of speed. You might be thinking, wow, that's a really big leap from that school having 1 to going to 10. Why are you making such a big leap during one contract cycle? Well, in coming slides, I will tell you just about that, about hyper-converged and why we made such a decision. We also know that the district is moving more and more to cloud-based and other resources that require a lot of outbound traffic and a lot of communication between our buildings. And this ensures that we can provide a speedy connection and also not have any latency or slow times when students are using resources. You'll see on the chart that there are stars in each of the color bars, and that's the current capacity used by the schools at kind of the average period that we see. The horizontal bar up and down in white is where the internet connection was previously. So you'll notice that at middle schools, high schools, we were reaching that threshold, and that was in the average. We would reach that threshold at several points during the day. So we were really excited to be able to negotiate that previously through our RFP process to not see a very large increase at all, to be able to increase this much within the district for speed. So a special thanks to our network services team for their work on that and getting all those things in place for us for the start of school this year. Upcoming projects in collaboration and communication is a move to OneDrive for Business for storage. So today, you store your resources on your desktop computer and can make those things, and there's a limit to the amount of size that you have. We'll be increasing that storage up to 5 terabytes of storage for resources and materials, which for some, hopefully there's cheering on the other end of those that are watching through video streaming, and those that are watching it later, because we constantly get that request for more space to store things. We're also going to be launching Microsoft Teams and Google Hangouts, knowing that, yes, Hangouts is used in our schools today, but what's the framework that we use to support and work collaboratively with curriculum and instruction to make sure that not only does it meet the technical needs, but also supports our teachers and students in the classrooms as well. As you heard in a previous presentation about our student information system replacement, we'll also be launching the Secure Message Center for parent, student, and others communication with the district that does the translation feature between one of 65 different languages to remove the barrier between communicating in a single language and having another person need to do translation. The system will automatically translate those messages back in your preferred language, and it doesn't care which message or language you use to send it in, it will automatically do the translation. Another that we've received major feedback on is about Wi-Fi calling and the ability to make calls from any location within the district regardless of cellular coverage. So we have concrete, sometimes cinder buildings that don't like cellular coverage. And so by turning on Wi-Fi calling in our district will allow you to use our Wi-Fi services in order to make a call out to your cellular provider. So more details to come on that soon. And also expanding out these translation features beyond your Outlook client, which you may have seen a translate button within Outlook or within your client on the web, into other applications like Word, Google Docs, and other things that we use on a regular basis within the district. In terms of anytime, anywhere, future ready for goal 2, our goal and our focus in this is about just-in-time access for learning and engagement. I put the full statement of the goals on here for those that might not be familiar with the overall Future Ready Technology Plan, but for your reference, I underline the most important part, which is about just-in-time access for learning and engagement. Looks like one of the little backgrounds on this didn't come out okay, but that's all right. One of the things I wanted to just remind you of is that in fall of 2014, we started with a pilot in our Chromebooks, and I gave you an update at our last annual update about the implementation at elementary schools for 2 through 5. And we just did, at the start of this school year, our replacement of middle school devices. You'll probably notice that little tariff sign with dollars and coins sitting there in the corner. This is the first purchasing cycle where we experienced a tariff against Chromebooks. And that tariff was about 10% of the cost, and we sheltered that internally based on the overall cost savings that we had from other projects and other efforts that we were able to shield that. But we know that in upcoming cycles, this will hit us again for our staff replacements. It will hit us again for our Chromebook replacements for high schools as well. I would like to remind the board that elementary K1 ratios as of the fall were 2.6 to 1, and we're using Chromebook carts to provide elementary-based 1-to-1 for K1. So that's on an as-needed basis. Teachers can pull from those laptop cart or Chromebook carts and put those in their spaces. So immediately you're probably thinking, why is there a Super Mario Brothers sitting in the corner of my slide? That's not a typo. I will explain that in a moment. And Carol, who is here from our server team, the coordinator of our server team, will attest to this. She said, I don't know why you put that in there, but it makes sense. It's important. So this one slide probably represents the largest lift that we did as a department. And Carol led the team through this hyper-converged effort. And if you're not familiar with what the term hyper-converged means, I'll break this down for you. So in a server room, you have racks of equipment, switches that communicate traffic back and forth, a server that has a hard drive in it, memory, and a processor that transmits things. So you could have a rack of 15 or 20 servers doing different work. And you're paying $8,000 to $10,000 per device to put that in the space. This collapses all of that down into one box. So you actually have a single, what's called a node. Carol, am I doing this right? Great, okay, just want to get your thumbs up. Individual nodes, so we have 2 of these as a primary, and the district will be arriving at what's considered full disaster recovery and redundancy. So if we were to lose our main data center here for any reason, our secondary location would fully be prepared and ready to support us, so we'd not have any full downtime within the district. And that's
And what was that called again?
redundancy and full disaster recovery. Yeah, there you go, sorry. Full disaster recovery and redundancy. Really passionate about disaster recovery. Probably the number one piece on this slide is that we're able to go from 361 terabytes of data that we formerly had on this equipment down to 28 terabytes, because what it does is deduplicates and compresses the data. So if we have 100 servers that have Windows Server installed on them, we don't need 100 copies of that same file. It says, well, you only need 1. Get rid of all the rest. And so we end up saving on an individual file level to that level of compression. This single-handedly took our infrastructure from about 15 years ago to present and borrows from business as well as corporate in the way in which they're handling their data centers. So you may have heard, because I know you read all the tech blogs and all the tech information, that one of the thing that's dying is our data center. The concept of a data center is starting to go away, not because of the cloud necessarily, but because folks are going in this direction, that you don't need mega computer rooms. There's been this evolution back and forth between going from on-premise to in the cloud and then back to bringing it in-house again based on trust and privacy and other components. So we felt that this was a really great investment, and we were able to support a very large effort with great savings for us to do that at the same time at the end of the year. So I've talked a lot, but I haven't talked about Mario that's sitting in the corner. So we made a deal. It's on above the board deal in terms of September 1st, that if this solution was implemented and ready, My Halloween outfit would be dressing up as Mario, and so if you're interested on Halloween, you're welcome to stop by. I will be in the Mario regalia in full support of this project being launched and on time. So Karen has marked it on her calendar. She will be there in full support, I'm sure, in her. Yeah, I'm well prepared for full flush face and embarrassment, so it's good. I'm ready. So again, this was a major, major milestone for us as a district.
Can't wait to see the nose.
Yeah. Yes, I will pay for that for years to come. But it's the best bet to lose because it's the one that got us to the end, so I'm super happy about that. You probably have noticed in our tech services department, we've had monitoring boards that show every 60 seconds where we log into online resources. We tap into every single online resource that we can to see how is it performing, is it down, is it up, what can we do to be proactive in its response. We now are doing monitoring of environmentals in our locations for temperature, humidity, water, and also individual airflow on the individual servers. And you might think, wow, that seems overkill that you're checking a fan on an individual server. But if one's going down, that means it's overheating. That means there are others in the rack that soon will follow, which means if we lose one server, we could lose 2, 3, 4, or more. So we use this to help us understand the climate and also the environment that our servers are sitting in. Our goals for Anytime, Anywhere, Future Ready upcoming are really our battle going on with tariffs and the impact on our overall purchasing. And that is a continued ongoing per tweet basis where we figure out how we fit within, yes, I did say per tweet basis, determining what the percentage of our overall impact will be on our expenditures. Because if you think what we spend annually on Chromebooks and staff devices, accounting for another 10% or 15% of expenditure is not something that our budget increases by 10 or 15% to accommodate for. So that's one thing that we're working on internally. I also shared previously as a board memo out our retired Chromebooks and the life cycle and the steps that we'll take to make sure that what are we doing with those assets moving forward from community offerings and opportunities to our district families, as well as supporting international efforts as well. We started our yellow folder implementation and working with Doug Akarius and his team, which has been, and Human Resources have been a great ally in supporting this effort of digital records management, so moving from paper to digital records. I don't think you'll find a school district who says they don't have, they do have too much paper. Everyone will say they have tons of paper laying everywhere. Our goal is to begin moving in that direction to digital records. Also working with curriculum and instruction, Brian Grinstead's team from Desktop Services has been wonderful at beginning the foundations for Google Play and the Microsoft Store so that students can begin to download resources to their computer rather than requiring internet. And this is directly connected to the e-learning and all kinds of other different efforts that we're working towards to support students. And then lastly, our expansion of what are called named accounts. And named accounts are getting away from generic accounts. So if I log in with Treehouse as a generic account, moving to actually naming people as resources. So the first group being, I'm working with our guest teachers to get credentials for them so when they log into a computer, they have a username and a password that's just for them that connects them to resources in the district. So this is another major milestone for our district. Goal 3, which is related to learning space design, is for the support of teaching and learning, and Goal 4 are combined in this effort about using technology to support technology literacy in the community. Probably the #1 effort that we did in the past 3 months to the end of this cycle was our RFP for the student information system. Again, we talked through that as our last action agenda item previously. But just as a refresher, again, this was a district-focused, transparent process with 61,000 evaluation points. The project is active, and we're looking at online registration as the anticipated module. If you noticed, we changed that from what was going to be course selection into online registration. And part of what we didn't want to do was create panic for staff and also panic for families and students who needed to learn a new system quickly, as the turnaround for doing course selection is right around the corner. So we wanted to make sure to lower the impact and the risk threshold of folks needing to learn something in the thrust of the school year. So online registration is the best next step for us as we look at how can we best deliver a great experience, but also give folks the training and learning that they need in order to support the system. As a reminder, the methodology for our implementation will be based on a module approach. So we're not going to be bringing on everything all at once, but instead looking at this as planning, preparation, testing, and deploying, and then repeating that whole process again from the beginning as we go through. Because again, we want to bring folks along with us and not leave people behind at the end of the day. So Our goals, again, probably the number one goal that we have within these two goals is the student information system replacement and training, because again, the date that's etched in our head is August 15th, 2020, which is the date in which our current student information system will turn off. I think we're getting tattoos put on our arms so that we don't ever forget that day. Also replacing projectors within the district, and then also some new opportunities with interactive boards and our screen replacements that we have. And that there'll be more information coming as curriculum and instruction and tech services partner together around what that experience looks like to best support teachers and students in the classroom. We're also evaluating staff and student devices, as I talked about on the previous slide with our tariffs. We're looking at what are our options to best support students without reducing quality, without reducing our expectations that we have for the demand and rigor of a tool that's being used by students and by staff. And then lastly, our Chromebook screen sharing and teacher supports was part of a purchase we made previously with our web filter. We'll be launching that out, and again, in partnership with curriculum and instruction. Probably the most notable one of topic that we've heard is about online safety and security of most recent, facilitating education-focused approaches for technology security. I will start with a kudos to our district staff again. We've done phishing education and simulation campaigns out to our community. We started at 20.9% non-pass rate in terms of folks that would click on one of those campaigns and either provide some information, provide a username and password. And I'm going to share this as a point of opportunity and what was growth, not as a point of a negative. We had folks who would click submit information 7, 8, 9, 10 times and then call us and ask why they weren't able to get into their account. And we had a conversation about why that's not actually the service. That was a phishing campaign. Now we are at a point, after 6 months, down to 1.9% of folks that were clicking on resources in phishing simulation emails, and a 0 repeat, meaning if they clicked on it and did something, it only happened once. It didn't happen multiple times. So that's a significant improvement for a district of a large size, as well as a staff with a large size, to make that leap. And we're really happy and excited for the staff that have supported us, taken the opportunity to look at the labels in emails that let you know it's not a message that comes from within the district. We've established protocols for what's considered sponsored access, or individuals who are not part of the district but need access to district resources as part of conducting business. And that's a formal contract agreement between that company or that person and the district, with expectations, rules, guidelines, and monitoring that we do for all of our accounts. We replaced our firewalls before the beginning of the school year and launched some new services there for what's called 0-day monitoring, which again is borrowing a little bit from our corporate and business friends, that if something is a threat within the environment, our systems get that update within about 5 minutes of when the threat is identified, versus waiting an entire day for an update to hit our environment. So we're far more progressive in this area. And again, our archival and spam filtering was moved to the cloud to move that out of our on-premise environment to speed up the process of delivery for email, as well as the costs associated to doing that. Probably the most notable within this slide, though, is about our data privacy addendums, which if you've been watching the news about data privacy incidents with schools, the number one feedback is what are schools doing to protect student data, and what are we doing to help prepare and protect student data at the same time. These addendums are individual riders that go along every individual technology contract that we have in the district that reinforce all the principles and requirements that we've worked with our attorney, so that when it comes to all the federal legislation, state legislation, all the privacy protections, and all the things that they do for remediation of data breaches are consistent across all of our contracts. So this has been a massive effort, not only for our department, but for our other cabinet members, and I thank them for their patience. I know that some have taken longer than others, as we're going back and forth between attorneys, debating between 99.9% and 99.875%. Those can be extremely frustrating and sometimes challenging, but in situations that we unfortunately have to encounter, we have these as reinforcement for all of our contracts. And so these are a major step for us. We're also beefing up all of our apps and infrastructure to support what's called the Center for Internet Security Guidelines. These are what are your best practices for reinforcing and securing your environment, so that when we have our audits, we make sure and meet all those benchmarks as best as possible. Little cartoon funny in here. It is copyright claimed and listed there, so people that are watching. It's a Dilbert cartoon, basically says why phishing scams keep working. And the first one is enter your bank account number, and the person says it's a scam. The second person says it's a scam. The third person says okie dokie and types in their bank account number. When I talked earlier about AI prevention and why artificial intelligence in this space can be extremely beneficial, is what it's been able to do to prevent some of the campaigns that we're seeing within our district. So this number actually was 1,300 as of last week. It's now up to 1,575 in terms of the number of campaigns that have hit our district that have not hit staff mailboxes. So the number one campaign that we see is someone creating a fake Gmail address. So those hackers and phishers that are out there, we are aware, who will create a Gmail account or a random account impersonating a principal, and then emailing the entire staff directory saying if they're available for a call or available to buy gift cards or available for resources. This tool actually intercepts those messages before it reaches our staff mailbox, and you'll see an example in the analysis box that says the from address is not the typical address that this person emails from, so it knows all the staff email addresses and the first and last name, and if it doesn't match a known sender of that person, it warns that this isn't from the right source. The second is that it makes an unusual request. So it also examines the type of communication that you're having back and forth with individuals. And so it's not common that Dr. Sullivan will ask me to buy her gift cards for a student. If it is, that's a whole other conversation, but no, not in this context. And so the nice thing is that this tool actually collects all those emails, and then we're able to block them and ongoing remediate them from ever hitting a staff mailbox. So again, that number is now up to 1,575 campaigns that we've been able to stop from hitting mailboxes, campaigns that at times have 200 to 300 emails in them that come in within a 30-second period. Wow. And so that's immediate before it even hits a mailbox. So again, this has been a major, major element for us because I think it's what actually staff spent a lot of time examining and figuring out if it was legitimate. Selfishly, it's helped me from not have to respond to Saturday phone calls from principals who ask me if this credit card campaign is legitimate because it's not hitting their mailbox anymore. So that's been a really helpful process too. So our largest goals that we have in this category, I'll start from the right to left this time, is DMARC enforcement. And I think for Janet from our communications department, one of the pieces that we see the most are folks impersonating our district, so pretending that they're ipsd.org. By turning this feature on, we can prevent an email from ever being delivered to any other domain pretending to be us unless it's from us. Mm-hmm. So if you create a fake server and try to pretend you're ipsd.org, your email will never be accepted by any other delivery agent because we've turned on this feature within our environment. We're close to turning that on. We're just monitoring right now to make sure we don't turn off legitimate email from going through. But that's going to be a large step in combating those that pretend to be Indian Prairie outside of our district. Another element is we get the question of, I have emails that weren't delivered to my account. Where's the email? Someone sent me an email and I'm looking for it. It's not in my mailbox. We'll be turning on what's called quarantine review. You don't need a hazmat suit. It's truly a location where you can go to see the status of every email that was sent to you. You may not be able to view it because it tells you that it's quarantined because it contains a virus or it contains questionable content in terms of them trying to sell you something that's phishing scam or other campaigns. But you can audit what emails were sent to your account in real time to see exactly what's happening with your account. That will be coming soon. Our Trusted Learning Environment seal is something that the department attempted previously and we're going to complete this time about getting the marker. It's a very, very selective process about meeting the standards and criteria for being a quote-unquote trusted learning environment that not only addresses technology services efforts, but district efforts as a whole outside of their commitment to supporting and securing student data and working with privacy. And then lastly, the one I personally and selfishly am most excited about is our partnership and working with the curriculum instruction who's working towards our digital citizenship curriculum and working with schools. So we're glad to be part of that team and working with them on that effort. In Goal 6, Unified Self-Service, we launched our support center at the beginning of the year, last year. We're at 28,000 support cases this past year, and that's about 2.5 times the volume that we had in 2016. But on average, our cases were resolved in under 5 hours, and that's a really large accomplishment by each member of our team to have a ticket that comes in asking for help to be finished before the day's over with that volume of cases and supporting the district staff. And again, keep in mind we have not only district staff in the system, but also students, parents, and families who are able to communicate in information. So as context with this, back in 2014, our ticket volume was 8,000 in a year. And in 2012, the volume over a 3-year period was 10,000. So doing 28,000 tickets, if you look back in 2012, that was 3 years. We're doing that in a year. So if in your head you're thinking, that's a lot, what's wrong? Why are we getting so many tickets, right? it's a great thing to have. We're glad that folks are communicating with us about how we can help, how we can partner with them and address things that they have going on in their spaces. So we welcome the tickets, we welcome the volume, and we welcome the communication and partnership with the district. So that number is not a bad thing. I just want to make sure and point that out. Our goals, working with IPPC and the feedback that they provided, which has been amazing, about Chromebook printing and secure printing release. We're going to be launching our pilot within that effort, where students can print from home and pick up their job here when they come to school, so they don't have to worry about waiting in line to print something. It'll be there, they swipe their ID, and the job will release for them. And then for staff, the ability to send something and not have it sitting in a pile that they have to go wait and hope that nobody's touching. They can go scan their ID and their jobs will release at that point. So it's another one of our commitments to making sure data about students and data about the district is secure and remains secure throughout the process. The second is self-service software delivery. So instead of putting in a request to tech services to get some software for your machine, you can shop for it, proverbial shop, through the software center and have it delivered automatically to your machine. So with no intervention, if you wanted Adobe applications on your computer, you would click and install. If you wanted different applications, you can do that on your own self-service. We piloted that with a couple other efforts earlier, but we'll be launching that on a much larger scale. And the third is that we acknowledge that support doesn't only exist during the confines of the school day. We know that things come up in the evenings, things come up at other times of day. We'll be launching a new remote support tool that will allow us to support you whether you're in district, out of district, on a laptop, on an iPhone, on an Android device, on a tablet. We can provide you remote support directly on that device. So it will be gone will be the days of that we say, what do you see on your screen? Okay, click here. We can actually help you and help support that remotely on any of those devices. Our last goal is in digital equity and beyond access. Again, we launched our 1 million project with 235 hotspots. We're sending out additional emails to students reminding them to pick up their hotspots from different locations. As a reminder for those watching and those that you talk with, know that the applications are still accepted on an ongoing basis. We continue to apply for more devices. We can do that 3 times per year, and we'll continue to order more and more devices as that demand is present. We also launched our Chromebook appeal program. So previously it was up to schools to determine the appeal, whether it was done with a family, whether they charged or didn't charge. We now have a panel of not only technology services, but other members of the district community who provide feedback on each individual appeal. And so it's an equitable process by not just having one single person or having one department, but also multiple voices who are reviewing the case. A majority of our cases have been overturned. The exception to that, I should have brought the Chromebook with me, but we have some Chromebooks that literally have been scratched across the screen, have tire tracks across the top, have keys that are plucked off. I did not thankfully receive, and I thank Brian Grinstead for this, for not giving me a Chromebook that had liquid flowing out of it, but we had some very interesting Chromebook cases. But the ones that are for unintentional cases where it's wear and tear, those have been waived and students haven't faced any fees or associated items for that.
A small percentage.
A very, very, very small percentage, yep. Because again, I think as we look at our overall case volume, above 95% of our Chromebooks don't have damage or don't have things that occur with them.
Wow.
That 5% makes up what we would see as repair for wear and tear and other resources. Our students are very responsible and families are very responsible for their devices, so I really appreciate that. And that's what keeps the longevity of these devices for 3 years, is that they care about their devices and support them in the long term. And our last piece in this is really working with our vendor partners and relationships to identify internships for summer work and also for during the school year, and also cultivating scholarships that can support students because we know that our relationships are not one just of we buy, you give us. It's how are we making sure that this is an ongoing relationship with each of the partners that we have as we perform business, and also a relationship with each of those groups. I wanted to remind our folks of our home connectivity options. Again, this is on our website for those that are not eligible for the 1 million project but would like to see reduced cost internet. That's available from Comcast Internet Essentials as well as access from AT&T. Naperville and Aurora continue to offer hotspot loaner devices for home use, and Bolingbrook and Plainfield offer Wi-Fi in their libraries at no charge as well. But again, we hope that as we grow the 1 million project effort in our high schools, some of the capacity will increase within Naperville and Aurora to open up to other individuals to be able to check out hotspots from them too. We are investigating other hotspot options for elementary and middle school through different efforts. Again, it's a little harder to find those in terms of supports because those are often based on school-based need rather than district-based need. But again, we're going to look at multiple options that are available for that campaign. And we'll continue to put forward, working with CNI, our curriculum instruction around online training and our technology modules, not only for the student information system, but also technology topics as a whole. It's obviously been a very busy year in our department. We've done a lot of work at cultivating how do we move ourselves forward, not only in our infrastructure and data services, but also as services that we provide to the district. I would like to thank each member of my department and Carol also for being here tonight in support of the various things that we're doing, and thank my team for each of their efforts and support, and also for your support and reading my lovely memos and other pieces that come forward about the things we're doing and your questions as well. So if there's any questions now, I'd be glad to answer them as well.
Questions, comments?
Just two quick questions. First of all, thanks for the real-time online support and the redundancy and real-time backup. Thanks for getting us into the late 90s. But no, it's really needed, you know, especially with all of us being on technology now. But my questions are, you were talking about the emails and with the phishing and with the demarc that we're doing. I'm assuming that also entails our students' email addresses. Okay, yeah, and I don't want to get it, I didn't want to say that email, but, or that domain to that email, but, okay, I just want to make sure that. And then you were talking about when staff wants to purchase software. Having kind of been in that industry, I know that can get out of control when you open that up, and that maybe this is more of a Kathy Peace question, but we're not letting staff go wild of what they can, I mean, because that could just get out of control,
That's a
right?
great
I mean,
question.
because, you know, on a same team, right? You could have 3 fourth grade teachers that want to get a different software program, and that's when districts can get out of control and lose control. And so I just want to make sure that that's not what we're doing.
That's a great
correct?
question.
Okay.
Thank you. And Brian Grinstead, if he's watching right now, I'll be rolling over in his chair right now if I didn't answer this question. So essentially, we cultivate the store just like we cultivate what desktop applications are available.
Okay.
So the student-based app stores, again, will be working with curriculum and instruction to identify what are those applications that are available to students. It's not a free market app store like you would have on your cell phone or on other resources. And for staff, they wouldn't be necessarily purchasing them with dollars. It would be apps that we have purchased as a district that are available for their use on a device. So again, cultivated stores, not open Wild Wild West stores.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify one thing, Mark, as well from your previous question. Student email for phishing campaigns has its own services through Google that we use to prevent those campaigns. The phishing campaign work in the AI space that we talked about is specifically for staff because of guidelines and recommendations around student data privacy.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Good, thanks.
No problem.
Other questions?
Mark asked my question.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, in the past, we've used students to provide support services. Are we still doing that?
So those squads, I think, is what they were referred to previously. We found that the types of support issues that we were encountering when the Chromebooks were first brought on board have really faded in terms of onboarding new devices. And we actually have, at this point, from what we've seen from observational, is students actually in each classroom are able to be and serve in that capacity. We also had, I forgot what his name was, from the presentation at the beginning of the school year at the Institute, who did the presentation about Chromebook support and created the website.
Dabu?
Yes, thank you. I could
Our
not.
fifth grader?
Yes, I could not remember his name for the life of me. There are resources that students are even creating that provide that self-help. Our techs have also been more proactive in individual schools, and so to what I think might be a follow-up on this is student opportunities, right? How are we engaging with students in technology? And so our goal was to move out of some of the spaces on click fix, and how do we get students into even repair, thinking about how they're part of the repair process. how Chromebooks function, how can they be in the repair experience, and also sponsoring some internships within our own department, right? So we can give some practical experiences across levels, not just necessarily within one single level. So we are having those conversations about how do we expand the opportunities that are available for students.
Yeah, I just love the idea of giving students that intern kind of experience with doing support, because it's something that's valuable across all industries, so, yeah.
Agreed. Thank you, Lori.
My 30-second reflection of a 67-year-old man is that in 2013, we were bringing our own devices. And now we have 27,000 devices and more, and everything that's associated with that. Most of it very good, some not so good. The face of education, being an ex-educator, has clearly changed, and it's so exponential now. It's incredible. I'm just blown away by the breadth and depth of the presentation and how the face of education has changed over the last several years. Thanks for all you do.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I just have a few short reports. Superintendent search update. I think we all know and the community knows that Ray and Associates conducted constituency feedback sessions and also conducted a survey. They were interested in determining the quality and characteristics of what our next superintendent should look like. They're compiling that data. They will be meeting with us on September 23rd to share that data with us. One of our tasks will be to develop a job posting with Ms. Buglio based on those qualities and characteristics. So that will be the next step. I want to thank the community, and I want to thank all our constituency groups for participating and helping us in this process. It's truly appreciated, so thank you so much. Any other questions on the superintendent search? Comments? I'm going to just put the legislative advocacy and board education update together. And LEND, which is the Legislative Education Network of DuPage County, will be having their first meeting on September 20th, 2019. As the legislature goes back into session in Illinois, the DuPage County superintendents are interested in talking about three things. One is taxes, and under the tax category, they're going to talk about the income and income tax and the fair tax and how that might affect school districts, and also the property taxes, which we all know there's a legislative task force. They have begun their deliberations to address school funding and property taxes, so that's something we need to look at. I think Dr. Sullivan has sent out the LEND updates, but there's 7 subcommittees that have been established to look at property taxes. We'll be probably looking most, 7, yes. The things we'll probably be looking at is PTEL and local government's tax levy, school funding and school property taxes, local pensions, and TIF districts. So we'll have to keep our eyes out. The last thing that LEND will be, the second thing they'll be talking about is pensions and the liability shift and the cost shift. Is still being discussed and considered in the legislature, so we're going to have to watch what they will be doing and how that may affect Indian Prairie District 204. And the last, we don't have to worry about as much because we're already consolidated, but consolidation of school districts still continues to be a hot topic in DuPage County and across the state of Illinois. So taxes, pensions, and consolidation will be the three areas that Lend will be discussing, and I will give a report after the meeting. That's all I have.
And I know that around this time usually, or towards the end of the month, we usually see the recommendations from IASB on the resolutions. Yeah, I know, I was just looking myself. So as soon as those come out, I'll connect, and if there's questions, and I'll get that to everybody too.
Are there any other discussion items? Hearing none. Mr. Karubis?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Do you want to come up and talk to the president? Talk to the president. Well,